going on, Jerome's? So the NFL draft is nearly upon us, and the Minnesota Vikings are likely going to be making a move to find their quarterback of the future. And we really like looking at other people's mock drafts and around the draft experts as well as draft Twitter and all that stuff, and just getting a taste, just seeing which way the wind is blowing and getting different perspectives. Because I don't know if you know this, but not everyone bets 1,000 on these things. Even people who do all of the work, and like Daniel Jeremiah, Mel Kiper Jr., Jordan Reed, Matt Miller, all that stuff. And it's good to get different perspectives on things, certainly. And over at Yahoo Sports, Charles McDonald, 4 Verts, Falcons fan, I'm sure he's loving Kirk Cousins, as well as Nate Tice, a son of Mike Tice. Perhaps you heard of him. Guru of the offensive line. They did up a mock draft on Yahoo, which got a little bit of traction. So looking at the top 10, obviously you see the Vikings trading up to 3, J.J. McCarthy. Certainly could be in the cards. But what else do you notice? A certain quarterback falls out of the top 10, which a lot of people don't see falling out of the top 10. So it certainly gets a little bit spicy. So diving on in. 1, Bears, Caleb Williams, yes. 2, the Commies, Drake May. I feel like May's upside is certainly there. And frankly, I think May and Williams are kind of cut from the same cloth, where 2022 was major for both of them, and May definitely pressed the issue. Definitely got a little bit erratic at times. He's definitely a gunslinger, and that's exactly what Caleb Williams was in 2023 as well, when both of them significantly lost some skill position players as well as other talent around them. 3 of the Vikings trade up for J.J. McCarthy Dynamite. First big trade of the draft, with the Vikings moving up to secure their guy for the future. McCarthy is a bit of a Rorschach test, but he's viewed highly by teams, and the Vikings have a huge need after losing Kirk Cousins to the Falcons. McCarthy would be walking into a great situation for him to actualize his talent, but he still has a long way to go. And that's interesting, where by and large, draft experts seem to be on board with McCarthy. Reportedly, teams are in on McCarthy as well. And it isn't a spot like it's Will Levis last year, where it seems like BS. No, I feel like what's interesting is that of the big quarterbacks, of Caleb Williams, of Drake May, of Jayden Daniels, of McCarthy, of Penix, I feel like McCarthy has the highest floor. Like, in a way, I feel like he is the safest of the big quarterbacks. And maybe he has a lower ceiling than, say, a Caleb or a Drake May or Jayden Daniels, sure. But I feel like specifically if he lands with the Vikings and what Kevin O'Connell is going to ask him to do, and also the weapons and everything that he has around him, like, it's basically like Michigan, where he's surrounded by talent and good coaching. And also, well, maybe we don't have that film guy like Connor Stallions, but who knows? Maybe someday. Vikings just finalized the coaching staff. I guess we don't have Connor Stallions. But so Vikings at 3, Harrison at 4 to the Cardinals. Chargers at 5, taking the tackle Joe Alt. Bears making a trade up from 9 to 6. Damn good time. So Rome Odunze, wide receiver 2 off the board. So Caleb needs a tall receiver. And Odunze definitely is that big-bodied outside the number guy. Then Titans, Fashanu, yes. Dallas Turner goes to the Falcons. Malik Neighbors goes to the Giants, where some people see Neighbors as wide receiver 1, maybe 2. But, I mean, Neighbors is Diggs. The smooth route running and just absolutely dominant when the ball's in the air. I love Malik Neighbors, man. I think he's going to be really good. Brock Bowers to the Jets. Now, what's interesting, like we said, the name that's missing from the top 10 is Jayden Daniels. So he falls to the Patriots at 11. So what's interesting is that, the Vikings, like, obviously if this is what went down and Jayden Daniels falls out of the top 10, it would have fell to right into the Vikings' laps at 11. I think they would have just sticked and picked. But the Vikings ending up with McCarthy at 3. Now, obviously, Jayden Daniels already looks good in purple and gold, and also is already tight with Justin Friggin Jefferson, Skull SU, that pipeline. So that could be interesting. But, I mean, that would be revisionist history. I mean, the Vikings, what is interesting is that getting up to 3, they have their choice of Daniels or McCarthy, and they went with McCarthy. And I think for all the reasons that we listed, of McCarthy's high floor as well as high ceiling, and also specifically what they want the quarterback to do in the offense. I mean, Daniels is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. He can drop it in the bucket. He's got a big-time arm. Some of the intermediate accuracy can be worked out with some footwork, ramping up, and some good coaching. And obviously, the game-breaking speed is a factor. But, I mean, McCarthy, I feel like McCarthy can operate the offense, and also I feel like that he can grow into the role too. I think that Daniels is a lot larger of a gamble than McCarthy. I think Drake May is a lot larger than a gamble than McCarthy, but also no risk it, no biscuit sort of situation. But it's interesting that the Vikings training up to 3, and they pass on Daniels, and they take McCarthy, and then Daniels has a bit of a slide. And what's interesting is that, I mean, if this went down, people are going to laugh at the Vikings because they're like, oh, just stay at 11 and take Jayden Daniels. No guarantee that would have happened. And say that Daniels would have gone at 3 and the Vikings couldn't trade up. I mean, maybe the Giants don't trade down. Like, maybe they rate McCarthy higher than they did Daniels. That's why they passed on Daniels at 6, even though reportedly they're in on quarterback, and they would have taken McCarthy at 6. So it's a bit of, butterfly effect situation. But, I mean, if the Patriots do this deal with the Vikings and they still get the guy that they would have taken at 3 or potentially would have taken at 3, that's interesting. That's why the draft is so much drama. But, I mean, frankly, if this is what happens, I think it's unlikely. But sure, it would kind of sting. And yes, all the storylines, well, Justin Jefferson is mad because the Vikings traded up lots of picks for J.J. McCarthy when Daniels would have been right there. But again, obviously everything is 20/20 in hindsight. But if the Vikings went up and got their guy, and Kwesi and O'Connell and McCown and the scouting department are betting their livelihoods on who the quarterback is, and they say it's McCarthy over Daniels, I'm in. I'm in. The rest of the way, Mitchell. So it's interesting. The Broncos pass on quarterback. Penix is there, but he goes to the Raiders. Frankly, I think Penix to the Raiders is a really good spot. I actually really like that one. Fatanu. Although, hey, if Daniels got to 11, falls out of the top 10, that Antonio Pierce, who coached him in high school and a little bit in college at Arizona State, you got to think that he would be champing at the bit to move up. Yeah, we'll see. Arnold, Barton, Mitchell. Let's see. Anything else interesting here? Cooper DeJong going to the Rams. JPJ to the Steelers. I kind of like that. Really do. Dolphins try to replace Christian Wilkins with Byron Murphy. Love that. BTJ goes up. Oh, man. So I'm not saying that the Vikings will be in the market for a receiver, but, in the 20s, in 1998, the Vikings, who already had 2 very good receivers, including a future Hall of Famer, they took a physical freak wide receiver, and things seemed to work out. But, I mean, right now, if you told me that the Vikings could stick and pick and get Jayden Daniels at 11 and Brian Thomas Jr. at 23, you son of a B.I. man. You son of a B.I. man. God, that's great. How did Fuaga get to the Cowboys? Wow. Wiggins goes to the Bucks. Latu Cardinals versus the Buffalo Bills. Actually, really like that match. Chop Robinson's going to the Lions. That makes me very upset because I think Chop and Hutchinson are going to be a problem. Last year to the Eagles. Patrick Paul. McConkey goes to the Texans. I love it. Xavier Leggett stays in Carolina. So, big body dog receiver. I mean, Leggett's like Anquan Bolden, right? Anquan Bolden adjacent. And also they got DeAndre Johnson and Thielen. So go get it. Oh, they got Mingo still. Mingo was everyone's sleeper pick last year. There you go. But like I said, Vikings move up and go get their guy. I mean, sure. Like if they deem that McCarthy is a guy, go up and go get it. But man, I mean, the way that the board broke, that's hilarious. Where Daniels ends up at 11 and BTJ is at 23. But it sort of is what it is. But your thoughts are thoughts. Take a look at Yahoo's mock draft. Our guy Charles McDonald and Nick Tice, and the Vikings go up and get their guy. But I mean, they could have just sat. Allegedly. Let's know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skol, production value.